Today's Toy Spot, we are having a look at the new Mattel DC Comics Multiverse Super Friends Batman. It comes with a collector's card and stand. Also comes with a grapple hook and batarang. I found these at the local Walmart. That's where I found these. And picked up, I could only actually find the Batman and the one on the back here, Green Lantern. Superman and Aquaman not out yet. And I also checked on eBay. Didn't see these either, so I don't know if maybe Superman and Aquaman aren't out yet, and the only releases so far are the Green Lantern and the Batman. Yes, I know this is the exact same Batman as what we got before with the original DC Comics, DC Universe line many years ago. Some would say that this is a rehashing of figures. Some would also say it's a resurgence and almost a throwback, if you will, of a figure that we used to get back in the day. I actually kind of think it's cool that we're getting the new, somewhat new, DC Universe figures with a new coat of paint on them. Back of the package gives you absolutely no read-up. There's nothing on there whatsoever. It does give you a pretty cool Super Friends image there of Batman, and of course Superman, Green Lantern, and Aquaman presented there as well. Spot's going to take a break, though, and get this opened up. When we come back, though, we're going to get a better look at the DC Comics Multiverse Super Friends Batman. More anyway, guys, don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Batman gets himself a couple of accessories, one of which being his batarang. Although not cast in black plastic, oh no siree. It's actually more like a purple gray-based plastic. Whoops, and then Spot, of course, drops it on the floor. Let's pick it up. There we go. There we go. There it is right there. You can take the batarang and hold it in his hand, as one would expect you should be able to. Doesn't really sit in there the greatest of ways, mind you, because just the way it's shaped. But you can see it does fit in his hand quite nicely. The other accessory he comes with is a rather cool looking grapple gun, which has a very simplified look to it. I'm sure it's been carried over from a previous released figure. There is a hook on the end. As you can see, there's also a hole there as well. Simply just take it and it attaches itself right to the top. I feel like it almost might have even made an appearance in the original superheroes, DC Superheroes line from Mattel, precursing the DC Universe Classics figures. That can also fit into Batman's hands. These are also very rubbery as well, so it doesn't help the greatest when getting in his hand, but as you can see, it fits in his hand nonetheless. And there's the Cape Crusader. Let's get these out of his hand. Of course, the other thing as well, Spot doesn't have it even on camera. Let's put Batman right there. The other thing he comes with as well is the Super Friends display base. Sadly, the sticker on the side of my base has been a little on the frayed side. That's disappointing. The other side is relatively clean. There's the back of it there. And Batman comes with a rather cool kind of chromium card, like a hologram card, depicting his old, not even so much Super Friends, but just like the style of merchandise Batman that one would expect to find. I even think that this was on my original Light Bright. How's that for dating oneself? On the back side, it has a rather rainbow, again, hologram. It says "per." That's all it says. One would imagine, though, of course, you collect all of these, it's going to say Super Friends. And you can get that and just attach it to the base here. Just like so. And it's got a singular peg hole, so you can go ahead and take Batman's foot, attach it into the socket. There we go. Make a little bit better efforts there. One thing I do want to mention, though, it does have Batman sitting on it fairly easy. Fairly easy, almost a little too much, though. The hole on the underside of his foot is not actually catered to the peg that's on the underside of, or on the top side there of the base. As you can see, if I can line it up here, the foot just sits right on it. And if we were to do the blizzard test of tipping this upside down, poor Batman would have a fall. It actually doesn't even attach. Obviously, they've used these display bases for other things. One would almost even say, like, this line as a whole is just reusing a lot of previous things, just kind of mashing it together to give us this new line. Despite the fact that the base doesn't stand the greatest, or Batman doesn't stand the greatest on the base, It's pretty neat, though, still to include that along with Batman. Let's now have a look at the Cape Crusader in hand. Cry foul, the audience would be yelling. This is basically just Mattel's attempts to give old molds a new breath of life. And actually, I would be one to agree, but actually I do think the figure is quite good. It could be like a long-lost friend that you haven't seen for the longest of times. You hung around all the time together, went to the playground, went to the mall together, hung around outside the pizza parlor. Pizza parlor spot, are you back in the 50s? So yeah, you might have collected these back in the day when they were the DC Universe Classics line. So like this, nothing really is different about this line. However, taking a break from it as somebody like myself who collected and reviewed, I think, pretty much most of the waves, it's actually quite nice to get this guy back in hand. It's kind of like, again, a long-lost friend. You haven't seen the longest time. You catch up. It's like things kind of just go back to the way they were when you guys last spoke. So let's have a look at the Batman here, which, again, essentially is just the exact same Batman as we've gotten in countless waves. This Batman, I want to say, has been released about 5 different times before, some of which having a similar color scheme. In fact, I think actually the gray portion of Batman here was a lot darker. So here we get a Batman that's more closer to a Superfriends or Superpowers release. As you can see, one of the inclusions is the dark mask on the front of his cowl here, which again has made appearances before, but I don't think has done it as well with this coat of paint. This coat of paint is a little lighter. It's a little bit more forgiving. And I think the blues, the yellows, and stuff have a nice vibrant color to them. One of the other things that you will see about this particular Batman is the fact that he does have a cloth cape. Cloth capes, as opposed to the plastic cape that we've seen with previous released Batmans. So in that regards, kind of like the old Superpowers, you could take the cape off and there is just that little metal ringlet, and that just attaches to the back of Batman's head. Coloring on also his Bat logo here is very clean. He doesn't get off completely with a perfect paint application. Gets a little rough around the face portion there. It's a little on the unclean side. And more importantly, around the boot area, they've really missed their mark as to where the blue should completely stop. In fact, some of it ends up finding itself more so into the gray portion of his legs. Other than that, I do think the blue is a nice coloring. And hopefully the new lighting that Spot's using here is doing a better job of reflecting that. In the way of his posability, his head is on a rotation via that ball joint that we always see in the past. He has an ab crunch, which moves up and down. Don't be surprised, though, in the process of doing that the cape finds itself off the neck. I did that a couple times, actually, where just moving it, it popped the cape back off. But an ab crunch nonetheless. He has a waist swivel. His arms, yeah, you've seen these before. Out on the arms, forward and back. A swivel on the bicep, a hinge on the elbow, as well as a rotation on the hands. No hinge, by the way, on the hands, just a rotation. Then you get the ever familiar split on the legs, which actually I found this particular Batman, when I did get him, I found like his legs were really, really tight. I have no complaints whatsoever with a really, really tight joint as opposed to a really, really loose joint. Forward and back motion on the legs, a mid-thigh swivel, a knee hinge, and a foot hinge. There is the Cape Crusader. There is Batman. As a whole, really like the figure. I think he turned out good. He uses a mold I liked. He's getting a new updated paint. Colors, I think, are a good choice. Cloth cape goes a long way for me. And some much needed accessories as well. Though the accessories are a little on the weak side, it does at least hark back to something that one would expect from a Superpowers Batman release, or just something that you would see for a more outdated, more retro look design to it, which I don't mind. Display stand is a nice touch. Wish the foot could actually peg into the peg, but nonetheless, a fine looking Batman to boot. If you didn't get a chance to pick up this figure initially, and I say initially, I mean like many, many years ago, or you did pick up this figure and you know what, like a long lost friend, you just kind of want to meet up again and go to the pizza parlor, I think this is actually a pretty good figure to pick up. Spot also managed to pick up the Green Lantern, which we will be looking at in a separate review. I feel like he has not aged as well as Batman here has. Today's Toy Spot, we were having a look at the Mattel DC Universe, DC Comics Multiverse. This was the Super Friends Batman. Stay tuned, guys. Spot's going to have more videos heading your way as well. Thanks for watching. See you next time.